I'm Gracy Hopkins, and I'm from Zimbabwe. I was born in 1952, and I went to a local school called Rangemore, and it was a very, very nice school, and the teachers were all great, very kind. And I then progressed and went to high school, and that high school was called Founders High. And I was at Founders High for just 3 years. And because I come from a big family, there was 10 of us, I had to leave school and start work. And I found work in a nursing home, and it was called Barclay Memorial Block, where I minded elderly people, and I really enjoyed it. But it was great. It was great. It was hard work, and the sisters I worked with were very strict, and you had to do everything by the book. Otherwise, they told you, there's the door you came in, you can go out through the same door. Night shift was very difficult because we had a nurse, Sister Volk. Well, we weren't allowed to sleep, obviously, and I understand we weren't there to sleep. And we used to do our rounds every hour. But the early hours of the morning were the most difficult. And she would come every hour as well, and very silently. We used to say she walks like a crab, because she used to walk against the wall. And if she came around and there was an office, but we weren't allowed to sit in the office. We had to sit outside the office, just by the door. And she'd come around and don't let her catch you sleeping. You'd feel it if you did doze off, that there's somebody there. And of course, she would be the one to tell you that you go out through that same door you came. So I worked there for 12 years. I enjoyed it very much. And when I left that job, I went and I worked as a sales lady in a big departmental store called Mikkels. It was owned by this very rich lady. Actually, we lived across from her house in Rangemore. And this roof was made of slate. It was just so beautiful. But she had all these big dogs, and yeah, you'd go past there and see all these fruit trees in the front garden. And yeah, so I worked for Mikkels maybe 3 years. And then I joined a funeral home, and that was called Crocker Brothers. And I worked at Crocker Brothers for a few years, and then the company was sold. But I stayed with the new owner, and the new owner was a black man. He wasn't very nice. And the company kind of went, it went down. It wasn't the same. In 1973, I gave birth to Davina on the 1st of April. It was very challenging, but because I had my mom and dad supporting me, that was good. Mom said to me, you got to go back to work and support your baby. And that's when my late brother Alec and his wife Mabel decided they'll mind Davina for me. So they took Davina. She was very young, few months old, and I was able to go back to my job. When she was 3, I took her back from my family, and I decided I'll be able to look after her. And I was still living with my parents, and one night I had 2 sisters that were still at home as well, Carol and Avril. And we had no ceiling on the roof, and our bedroom was next to mom and dad's, and we heard them say, when are they going to leave home? So we decided, okay, we'll move into town and we'll look for an apartment. And we were on the 2nd floor in this apartment. One day I was coming from work, and Andrew and Davina, there was this balcony and it was quite high, and they had put themselves on stools and they were trying to look over. At that point, we decided we can't be in this apartment anymore. And I got another apartment, which was much safer. And there I read Davina, and she went to school, Robert Trade School. It was actually an Asian school, but now they were taking colored children as well. So I decided she was so naughty. She wouldn't listen. Oh my goodness. And I used to like knitting. And I'd come home and my wool is gone. And she's given it to the friends. And it was a nightmare to try and wake up Davina to go to school. She'd be bawling, crying. And anyway, I decided Davina needs to go to boarding school. And I put her into Hillside boarding school. She gave the matrons a hard time. And I used to collect her every weekend. And at that time, I was going out with a gentleman called Mick Hicks. And he loved Davina. He adored her. And we'd go and pick her up on the weekend, bring her home. It was a nightmare to take her back. She'll be screaming. And I'd just get there, out the car, Davina, and that was it. And then she went to high school. And then, of course, that was even worse. Yeah, she did her high school, and she went to college and did secretarial. And then I decided, right, Davina, with all the hassle she gave me, she was still my baby. And we were going to have her 21st. And Uncle Mick was really someone very special to her. To her, it was like her dad. At this time, we weren't together. But there'd been a bit of incident that between my family and him. And he said to Davina, I wouldn't want to be in their company. And that hurt her a lot. Anyway, family helped me. We set up, got the party, arrangements and everything. And all her aunts and uncles were there, and her cousins. And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful evening. But there became a hitch there because an unpleasant thing took place. We had a box where people put their gifts, like cash. And Mick had written out a check for her. But when we got to opening the box, the check was gone. You know, we don't know really what happened. So that was a bit upsetting for him and for us. But yeah, she had her 21st and we carried on with our lives, and then she went off to Harare to work there. And that's where she met her husband, Simon. Simon and Davina were married in January 2001. And I had then met a gentleman called Tom Hopkins. And we got married August 2001. So we both got married in the same year. Yeah, and then it came that Tom decided, no, we can't live in Zimbabwe anymore. Yeah, it was a hard time for me to leave Davina, and yes, we came to Ireland 2002. Unfortunately, he met a lady from Navan, and Tom was gone. But yeah, I carried on and the best I could. We remained friends. I chose to remain friends because I got very sick after that. It's all the stress you're going through, and I chose that day that I was going to forgive Tom and Mary. So I chose to say, Gracie, you need to forgive. As a Christian lady, God calls us to forgive. He forgave us for our sins, and He calls us to forgive others. So that was it. I was like, that's it. I'm forgiving, which I did. And yeah, Tom continued with his relationship in Navan. But of course, the eye was roving again, and he found somebody in Listow. So yeah, Tom found somebody else and left Mary very badly. And of course, then she wrote me a letter. She wrote a long letter when he had left it to say, I'm really sorry. Tom told me a whole lot of lies about you. And I said, Mary, don't worry, that's fine. I said, you know what? The day I decided to forgive you and Tom, I forgave you. She was, yeah, you're a great woman. And I said, Mary, no. And then I told her about God's love and how God calls us to forgive. And I said, Davina was now working in Harare, and we were now working for the same company. And she was working in the head office, and I got a call from the secretary. And she was like, Davina's gone into labor. Of course, I wasn't there to be with her because this was a long journey, like 4 hours to Harare. So it was just so beautiful when I did get there and to see little Junior. It was just very special. Davina would come over home and bring little Junior with her. And then 5 years later, she was pregnant again with Cody. Yeah, by then I was in Ireland. So I never got to experience little Cody. Yeah, so I didn't get to bond with my grandchildren. Even to this day, actually, there's just no bonding there with the grandchildren, which is just so sad because I was never there for them. I never had my own home when I was in Zimbabwe, my own house, should I say. So it was always renting. So to go back at my age, it would have been difficult. And I chose to remain here so that I can help out with supporting the children back home. That was the option. Yeah, I was still working in the nursing home, and at that stage I was living in shared accommodation. So I just kept going to the town hall. Every week I was there pestering them every week, and eventually I was called for an interview. And yeah, I got the house, and I'm here 6 years now. Yeah, and I'm just so grateful, so grateful, because I did tell God actually when I was in the shared accommodation, I said, I'm not moving from here until you get me a place where I will be there until you call me home. And I got my place, and I'm so thankful to God. For me, I would start all over again when it came to Davina, being pregnant and having Davina. And yes, just going through my life with Davina. Davina is my pride and joy. She is my best friend. Yeah, we get on very well, Davina and I. And she's a lady with lots of wisdom. It's been the best time of my life having Davina in my life.